you tell us a little bit about how this opportunity came about and what it meant for you to get it?
Yeah, I was in Nashville training, and then just like a week ago, the Chiefs had to let me go due to numbers, draft picks, free agents, and a couple of days later, I got a phone call from my agent, and then from the people here, the coaches, saying that they want me to come down for the weekend or however long it takes, but they wanted me to come down and work out with them. So I told them, yes, this is another opportunity for me to get better and get my name out there more. So great to be here.
And in a weird coincidence, I guess you and Taylor Heineke were
Yeah,
together in the XFL. What
yeah,
was that like? And
I
touch
kind of
base
sent
with
them
him
a
at all?
picture. I sent them a picture. I was like, I'm in your hometown, and he was laughing and said, "Welcome home," whatever. But me and him go way back, so he's a good guy and good dude.
What was it like being on a team with him?
It was awesome. I mean, being in the same quarterback room, he helped me grow as a quarterback. He knew the game. He does have experience, and he is older, so he kind of, I don't know, he's like an older brother to me. So he kind of led me through that offense and showed me the ropes a little bit and helped me.
You guys had great celebrations there in St. Louis. So what was the fun of being a part of a league like that, even just for a little while?
I mean, it was just such a great experience just to have football in St. Louis, and I felt like the fans were behind us each game, and it was just amazing that other guys had a lot of opportunities just to like go out there and play the game that they love, and gave a lot of people their jobs, and it was just opening to like the world, I guess, and I really loved the league. It was fun. It was energizing. Like people loved watching it on TV, and the fans were crazy about it, and that's what made it work.
So this was our first chance to see some of these new receivers and tight ends. Anybody impress you today? Anybody that stood out as being particularly sharp?
I mean, everyone on that offensive side, I felt like everyone was sharp. They knew what they were doing. I just flew in last night, learned the plays this morning, like 20 minutes in, 20 minutes out, and I'm just like, all right, let's do this, and kind of just throwing the rock around. I felt like they did a good job catching it, and really like JP, our running back. He's really good and fast, and he knows what he's doing. So as long as they continue to do that, I feel like this rookie class is nice.
What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub. We just heard from Jordan Ta'amu. He was working out with the Washington football team. Still no name yet. Maybe they should call themselves the Elks. That would be cool. They brought him in. You heard that. Got a chance. Now it's kind of the roles are reversed with Taylor Heineke now signing a big contract. But talking about his time in the XFL and how much the fans loved it. So on this week's show, we've got a TSL recap and ratings, plus former Argos and Buffalo Bills running back Karlos Williams talks to our own Josh Davis about his journey in the NFL, talks a little bit about his CFL, brief stint there, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss that. So how do you get in touch with the show? It's simple. You email podcast@xflnewshub.com with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and we'll read it on the show. And remember to like and subscribe. Go right now. Click the little like button. Make sure you subscribe. We've got tons of stuff coming down the road. It will be very exciting on not only this YouTube channel, but the CFL News Hub news channel as well. So we'll be covering both topics, XFL, TSL, CFL, and anything else with an FL in it. But before we get into the show part of everything, we got to support our sponsor. Support for XFL Week in Review is brought to you by Manscape, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscape offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels, my friends. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. 4.0. Just kind of like the XFL. Coming out with their 3.0. But then would the 4.0 include the CFL? Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with your exclusive offer, 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code XFL News Hub at manscaped.com. Now let me tell you, Manscaped, I use the product. I've used it for years. I love it. Listen, it's summertime, guys. It's summertime, time to clean up a little bit, kind of get that Manscape going on, out in the sun. You want to look good. You don't want to be looking like a woolly mammoth. So get to that Manscape and you'll be good to go, man. Just trust your friend Mark, helping you out with the ladies. Trust me, I'm helping you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code XFL News Hub at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com, and just use the promo code XFL News Hub. It's not very hard. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. We appreciate them being part of our show. All right, so this week's show, we're going to do some news first. Some news and notes from the XFL world and CFL world. And then we'll get into the Josh Davis interview and then to your social media stuff. Now, Mike Mitchell, we planned on having him on the show. He couldn't make it. We are scheduling for another time. If you didn't get a chance to check out his article, I'm not going to touch it on this week's episode because I want him to talk about it. But we're planning on hopefully in the next week or two to get Mike Mitchell in. He is working behind the scenes, the hardest working man in XFL. He is the XFL insider. A lot of times when you hear others talking about inside information, they're really just referencing Mike Mitchell. So we're so happy and proud that he's part of our XFL News Hub and CFL News Hub family. And so he'll be on the show in the next week or two talking about that article there. Also, I got my final jab. That's right. So here's a weird thing. I got my jab. I did feel like crap the next day. I'm not going to lie. That was Wednesday I got the jab. And then I was not feeling that great. My wife was like, oh, why don't you take some Tylenol? I'm like, no, I need that inflammatory response. I've gone this far. I can deal with it for a day. I didn't want to lower my inflammatory response. I want it all in because that's how I do it, all in. And then I felt fine, started feeling fine the next day, and it was rolling. And it's weird in the United States, in Maryland, the state of Maryland, we went to a local restaurant that had some music, and everybody was there, no masks. Everybody was hugging and having some adult beverages. So it was like, this is crazy. Just like a month ago, and it makes me feel for my friends in Canada, even though their numbers are starting to come down and their vaccination rates are low. I mean, no one was talking this a month ago. People were talking that maybe this would happen in July. But I mean, that's how quickly this, unbelievable thing worked. So and this ties into what's going to happen with the CFL season. What's going on with them, and because that's really what it's going to boil down to. If they can get that vaccination rate up, and people getting sick goes down really quickly, as it did in the United States, then we're off to the races with the CFL season. If not, it might get delayed. It's not the CFL's fault. They're not in charge of a pandemic. Some people criticizing the CFL. I'm like, you think if there was no what going around today that they would have to delay it and then the transparency deal? Well, it's like, well, what would you want them to say? I want them to be more transparent. Okay. For example, what? Half of the people that want transparency don't care what the CFL has to say. They would complain anyway. So, but I get it. We want to get some word, and I think we'll get something here soon, hopefully this week or next week. Definitely by, I think, next week. But there's other football going around, my friends. That's right. The Spring League is in action this past week. We have the Blues losing to the Generals 9-24. My linemen crushing. I did watch some of that game. Oh, that was on Fox. Linemen on FS1, 47-7 over the Alphas. My linemen, and great interview. A fellow other lineman quarterback on XFL Markcast. That was a fantastic interview. You should check that out and hear his backstory. The quarterback there, I forget his name. Then we had the Aviators beating the losing to the Conquerors 7-34. And then the final game, a rainy game on FS1, was the Jousters 22, Sea Lions 7. So that is your TSL games of the week. I didn't get to watch I did get to catch my linemen play a little bit, and they were just stomping them in the first half. But the football is clean. The presentation is good. You know, there. If you don't like the XFL, then explain to me why Fox, a major network, would air TSL games on their channel instead of baseball or any other sport on Saturdays at 3 o'clock. It kind of sells itself about spring football in the United States. All right, so speaking of TSL news, let's get to some Spring League up first. We have some roster transactions. I thought some of these were interesting. So I'm not going to go through all the names, but the South and North divisions, before the games kind of start, you get some names out there. Johnny Harris, he was signed, and now he was with the Conquerors last season. DeAndre McNeil left to pursue a career as a police officer. Congratulations to him. New York Guardians running back Tim Cook, he joins his former coach. The Blues didn't have anything. Joins his former coach with the Jousters. Is that what we have to, how we got to call the Jousters? Because they got that New York component to it. And offensive lineman Evan Kisnarzik signs with the Minnesota Vikings. So he leaves the TSL and goes and signs with the the Minnesota Vikings. So congratulations to him as well. We've got some other TSL news. First of all, we've got the ratings. So the ratings for the TSL. Let's see. This is our Mike Mitchell recording it. And by the way, whatchamacallit? Showbuzz Daily, .com, which is a site that everybody gets the rating news from. I do that with the AEW stuff all the time. They had some big technical problems, and now they've been down, and they were basically saying they make no money. And I have heard this from other sites and site owners, or find out how much they make. I'm like, if you want to hire me as a consultant, please do. But the fact that they make no money boggles my mind. So they might not come back. Is kind of what it is with Showbuzz Daily. So Mike Mitchell is digging deep to get some of these numbers. So the Spring League kicked off its second week of their 6-week regular season. For week 1 of the TSL season, games on Fox and FS1 averaged 275,000 viewers, a 817% increase over last year's 30,000 viewers on FS1. Let's see here. Second game of what's this? This was the 18th. Okay. Week 1. Does he have the numbers? Oh no, maybe this is the old one. This might be the old one. Yeah, this might be the. Oh wait, no. Monday's TSL game, the Sea Lions down the Generals 17-13. Oh, and then the game was postponed due to the weather, moved to Tuesday. Saw the Jousters, 50,000 viewers for that Tuesday game this past week, 30,000 for the Monday game. The Spring League's Fox ratings in week 2 are very encouraging. Sometimes it pays to start with modest numbers and low expectations. Nowhere but to climb. The Spring League's 30,000 viewer average last fall on FS1, now starting at 380,000 viewers for the opening week, and adding an additional 68,000 in week 2 is a very positive sign. So this TSL on Fox, especially because that's where it matters the most, actually grew by 68,000 viewers from week 2. Technically, you want to say, the XFL their numbers did not go up in the second week, but also there was heavy promotion. Everybody knew it was there, and those were pretty huge numbers. But Fox and the TSL move up. This is with teams that there's no home base. It's just football, just generic football with some guys maybe you've heard of, and people are interested in it. So this is a good sign, not only for the TSL and the players involved at the TSL, but also the XFL as well, as far as their negotiating with other leagues or other television networks, I should say, because they're like, yo, look at this. That's exactly what The Rock says. Hey, yo, look at this. Some XFL news. Chargers sign Seattle Dragons Austin Proehl. He was the first ever player to score a touchdown. I was at that game, and I was disappointed that your America's team, DC Defenders, didn't get the first touchdown. But Austin Proehl signs with, he was waived by the 49ers and now is part of the Los Angeles Chargers with Storm Norton and Donald Parham on the roster. And he also joined, he and fellow Dragon safety Godwin Mbukwe, he's on the Lions, are the only two Seattle players on NFL rosters. So congratulations to him. Cleveland Browns signed St. Louis Battlehawks tight end Connor Davis. He was with the Jets for a little while. And then I didn't see that he got cut, but then he got signed. Connor Davis played at my area where I grew up in Stony Brook. He's more known as a blocking tight end, but unfortunately, the Browns tight end room is stacked with Austin Hooper, David Nyan, I know what his name, Harrison Bryant, Stephen Carlson, and Jordan Franks. I had David, I think it's Nyanhu or something. I forget how you say it. I don't know. So it's going to be a tough hill to climb, but he's a blocking tight end. So congratulations to him as well for making the roster. And XFL guys are on teams' rosters. Hey, let's say hello, first of all, before we get into some other news. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Paladin Demo. I got your picture. We'll show here in a little bit about his great artwork. Jacob, welcome. He said, my TFL team is the Alphas. No. The lineman is the best team. Hal Mummy offense, baby, all the way. Paladin says, I didn't hear anything about Spring League on regular TV and even channel surfed and didn't see any games on. We have the schedule on XFL News Hub. You can check out the schedule. It's up to date, and there you can get. And plus, we do a preview article, too, when things come out, so you can check out there. JD Moss, looking around. Welcome to the show as well. Let's get to some other interesting TSL news. Let's see here. Okay, I got to figure this out. I got some new screens I'm playing with. So TSN says the CFL is looking at revenue sharing and could model itself. Could it be similar to what the XFL does? So this past week, Dave Naylor and Farhan Laji talked about the CFL potentially changing its model to a team revenue sharing, something the league had talked about it needed to do for a long time. They basically talk about how it's really hard, but it's tricky with the healthiest teams. They say Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Edmonton are asking community-owned teams in smaller markets to share their revenue with privately owned teams in larger markets like Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. I think everyone can understand why that's a tricky dynamic to manage. Absolutely. Of course, the issue with the teams is that the ones that have money want to give it to the guys that have, billionaires. It's kind of, I get all that part. But one of the things that they want to do is make sure it's balanced and, making sure that the money isn't basically a direct subsidy and that it's not part of your profits, but it goes to specific places and they're doing all that stuff. And so that was kind of the gist of what they were talking about. Now, this type of drastic change won't happen, of course, this year. The league is just trying to get through this season. But the XFL business model is shared revenue between 8 teams. There was only one owner. We all know who that was, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Teams shared revenue as a way to help build the league up since it was a startup. Now, when the XFL 2.0 era began currently with XFL co-owner Danny Garcia, she had asked Vince McMahon if Garcia and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could buy an XFL franchise, and Vince McMahon said no. This was when he first announcement that's how long they wanted in with the XFL. And partly because that was not part of the business model. Not having these separate entities, but having one singular shared revenue model. We've heard our friend Randy Ambrosi talk about business model all the time. Could this... Now, first off, no one is suggesting, and I'm reading this from my article because I had to put this in there because people say dumb things. No one is suggesting the CFL should have a central owner like Vince McMahon. However, the idea of adopting more of an XFL-like business model could help the CFL down the road. Now, could this business model B, what CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosi has been talking about in their press release regarding their talks with the CFL. Is the CFL trying to use the XFL's business model as a blueprint to a new version of the CFL? You know, all this talk about merger and this, that, other thing. I wonder, I mean, it's got to really start at the top with the business model and switching from this business model, and they're talking about business model, shared revenue. How did the XFL do it? How did they make it fair? How did, places like Seattle and St. Louis don't screw over when they put their money in the pot, and places like Tampa and LA where there wasn't as much revenue generated from the gate? How did that all work? That's all laid out in the business model, the thing that they're talking about. So I thought this was interesting. Now, before you know what hit, this is another fact that I don't think is out there. The XFL was green, not in the red, and profitable. That was in the documentation that all these people that wanted to buy the league saw, that the XFL was profitable at the time after 5 weeks. Something the CFL has not been, one could maybe even argue, not very accurately, I would assume, but one could argue that the XFL could have been more profitable for longer than the CFL, because all we've heard is every 10 years the CFL is on the brink of bankruptcy. So with the CFL struggling for its profitability all these years, maybe this is one of the reasons why they're talking. And when we hear business model, maybe that's what it's all about. Something to keep in mind when it's out there, and definitely something that's not been talked about at all was that the XFL was profitable after 5 weeks in a football space. Now, the money that they spent to rev up the league and all other stuff, I don't think that's included in that. But they were happy with the numbers that they were getting, and they were ready to make even more money as the weeks went on. So the twice failed league was profitable. I can't say that about the CFL from what I'm hearing. And it's not me. This is just what we all hear, what the media talks about, teams losing millions of dollars. Now, speaking of CFL news, let's go through a couple things that I wanted to talk about CFL this past week. So first, this whole single game betting thing has intrigued me because a lot of people out there, and let me know what you think in the chat room there, about the CFL single game betting is somehow going to save the league or help the league and basically fix its woes. I'm telling you right now, I just did some simple math, and the answer is absolutely not. It is not going to fix, and they're still in trouble after this. Think about this. So there's been numbers thrown out there that it could generate an additional $20 million for the league. Hell, I'll even move that up. Even if it was $50 million for the league, they would still be in trouble. So Dave Naylor and Farhan Ladji talked recently about how, and it's in one of our articles, about the downsizing, how TSN, how they downsized, the downsizing of the CFL that took place. So they had an article out there, and they had talked about, the CFL needing to change its business model, that they had cut their operating budgets by more than 50%. They made huge staff cuts. Here's what made me say this is the single game betting is just not going to make a difference. They also said, Naylor stressed that belt tightening will continue. He says, we've seen, even with player salaries, teams spending near the lower end of the salary cap range instead of the higher. And I'm led to believe that overall it's going to result in between 1 million to 1.5 million savings per team annually. So they made so many cuts in their budgets to save themselves 1 million to 1.5 million. On average, what they've said is each team is going to get say $2 million off of betting in Canada. Let's just say that that's the number. That doesn't even make up, it barely makes up the staff cuts that they're basically at nothing right now. Like they're at bare bones staff. So when the season kicks back in, this $200 million, at least maybe $750,000 at minimum, is going to go towards restocking the staff. As people criticize the CFL, they don't do anything on social media. They're not making any videos. They don't play flag football leagues with kids, you know, and they don't do this, they don't do that. They don't have the staff to do it. That's why they don't do anything. Why does not the Spring League have this big marketing budget? Because they don't have the money to do it. If you had the money, you would do it. But the money is going to pay coaches and players, and who knows what their deal is with Fox, at least for the Spring League. Same thing with the CFL. Everybody's like, it makes no sense to me. Think about it logically, okay? Problem solving here for a second. If you're criticizing the league for not spending enough money, and these guys, yeah, these owners do have the money, but clearly they don't want to spend it on something that is losing them money. And then you're like criticizing them for not marketing enough, but at the same time, they're slashing their budgets to save money. Like that tells you that the business model is broken and it's not even close to being fixed. And that's why betting will not fix it. Because if you're able to get $2 million, hell, $3 million, $4 million a team out of sports betting, that's just going to go to player salaries, pumping up staff. I mean, it will help. But if these teams were losing $7 to $10 million a season, that's with the season off. But then you heard numbers in 2019 that teams were losing millions of dollars. This isn't going to fix it either. This is going to help. It's going to help get some staff on board and bring their staff maybe to a level where they can do more social media stuff and marketing and those kind of things. Yeah, this isn't going to save the CF. Just do the simple math. They cut players' salary and they still lost money. Teams are losing money, and there's some teams that are breaking even, like the community teams have money and they've done all right. But I think if you fix the business model and then throw this on top of it, maybe that was. But remember, Randy Ambrosi did say that they're looking for a Canadian solution to their problems with their revenue stuff. So that was my take with this whole single game betting as it being the saving grace of the CFL. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even close. It's barely going to, it will like help them restaff to the levels that it was in 2019. Maybe, but they're already at bare bones too. So it's something to think about. Also, we had Lisa McLeod. She was out there like a week or two ago, and everybody's like, oh, she said that they're not having it. That's it. It's over. Like, blah, blah, blah. And now she's like, well, maybe there might. I'm telling you, I'm not even really concerned much what politicians, health officials say. They can't be like, yeah, we're totally going to have it. Like, the expectation of what do you think these people were going to say? Are they going to be, you know what I mean? And I understand maybe that there was a handshake. Who knows? But I'm telling you, from somebody who's experienced this and other Americans in this country, we were told one thing and then it opened up like nothing. So I don't put much weight in that kind of stuff. The CFLPA wants more certainty from governors. Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, that's a thing you need to be out there. Fans in the stands at NHL games is to me, that means something more than anything else. So what does it mean for the CFL? That's a good sign. There were some player signings. The other big thing is Bo Levi Mitchell. If you haven't had a chance to hear him on, let's see, I'll pull it up here a second. He was on a podcast. Oh, and also Saskatchewan Premier wants players in the stands. Oh, and one more tidbit. But so Bo Levi Mitchell was on the Bob McCown podcast, and I like him. I'm a Bo Levi Mitchell fan because he just tells it as it is. I heard of the guy's name, but I never got to hear him talk. talk about the CFL. He loves the CFL. He says he could never play in the NFL because she's short. Loves the rules and everything, but he was all about, he said, a merger with the CFL, XFL is an absolutely phenomenal thing. And, of course, there was the hate after that. But if you want to check out an interesting interview, he had a lot of things to say. He played with June Jones. I didn't know about that. Talking about, how he got into the Canadian Football League. But he was all for the merger. Now, again, the rules he wants to stay, and there definitely needs to be a structure for the rules so that they can incorporate more players playing the game. And I think, when it comes to like guys like him, where it's like, hey, I can be 6 foot or 5'10" or whatever he is, and I don't have to be 6'5" to play in the CFL. I absolutely think that rules need to be made structured so that, and then like if an extra guy on the field, I'm all for that too. It'd be interesting to see what they come out with, but definitely that's a great interview. If you definitely want to check out that was a good interview this past week. And finally, apparently the BC Lions were for sale, and then one of the groups that were behind it finally said enough is enough. But I wonder if the BC Lions don't want to sell because there's pretending interesting things down the horizon with your buddies in the XFL. So that is going on there. Oh, I got the wrong button. Let's check out our what's going on in the chat room. That's where I wanted to get to. Paladin Demo say, unless a percentage is going into the league, hell no. Jacob says, I'm sorry, I got my own team. He's got the alphas. Jacob is the alphas. He's the alphas guy. Has anybody gotten merch yet? I'm definitely interested in getting some merch. All right, so that's it for the news this week. Let's we'll get into our Josh Davis's interview with former Argos running back and former Buffalo Bills running back Karlos Williams. I'm just checking my notes here. Yep. And then we'll get to your social media stuff right after this. So stay tuned for the interview, my friends.
This is Josh Davis sitting here talking with former Florida State, former NFL, and a little bit CFL running back, and a little bit of defensive back when he started out. Karlos Williams, how you doing today, sir?
Doing all right. Sitting on the porch and just enjoying the beautiful morning here in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes, sir. Just so you know, I am a lifelong Florida State fan, so I appreciate you talking to me today. So.
No-blooded, baby, no-blooded.
You made the announcement on the 27th a couple of days ago that you were retiring. And you've been around. You were drafted 5th round by the Bills in the 2015 draft, so you've been in professional football for a little while. Tell me how that was, how your career was. There were some ups and downs. You mentioned it in the bio there. You do have a record in the NFL for the most consecutive games with a touchdown as a rookie. You've had to sit behind some greats, coming up as you played in your career. But how was that? How was your pro career? Playing a running back in the NFL.
I mean, to me, it was everything a kid from Polk County could dream it could be. I mean, I always wanted to play in NFL. Had the 2 older brothers play the sport. Leading the way, we always talk about one of us makes it, or one of all 3 of us make it, or 2 of us make it. And God bless my family to have 2 of us make it.
Yep.
My career, it was short, but it was so sweet, man, and it was no bitter parts to it for me. It was a lot of learning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and on the field, every time I touched the ball, I performed. There was never a time I felt like when I was in the game I wasn't performing at a high level.
Right.
That's something that I love about what I left on the field. Nobody can say, well, it was a time where Karlos Williams wasn't performing. I just couldn't touch the field my second year. I made some bad decisions off the field, some personal choices that I chose to make, which led to me being suspended and actually not being able to play in the NFL anymore. That was bitter. I was upset, bitter for a long time. I did choose to complete my substance abuse program. I did 2 years in that program between 2016 to 2018, where I was completely sober. I was reinstated by the NFL. In 2018, I had the possibility of being signed to a roster. I wasn't given an opportunity, but I felt very accomplished at that time because I did something that a lot of people doubted me.
Mm-hmm.
Being a guy that had a lot of followers on social media and being a kid who loves social media. That's what we do these days. It's how you make your money, and it's how you move your whatever you do. That's what you move it through social media. So just can't log on Twitter without having somebody say something to you or having something negative to say or calling you this or calling you that. And at that time, not being mature enough to be like, you know what, maybe you do have a problem, or maybe you do need to fix this, or maybe, you were immature at that time and you did make a bad decision. It was, more shameful at that time. And now I can look back at it like, you know what, I was being a knucklehead. I wish I would have made better decisions. But now, being where I'm looking forward to the future, it's a story to tell to young men, to young women, to young athletes. Just look at my example. I had great success, but although my great success was on the field, I should have had great success off the field doing the same thing. As hard as I worked on the field, I should have worked as hard off the field. The better choices, the better decision making. The way I spoke in interviews at times, it wasn't appropriate. The way I carried myself should have been better as a professional. And I believe that had a lot to do with not having a second chance, even though I was reinstated. But as far as my playing career, I've had some great moments, man. I've had some great teammates. I just posted. I started a new page on Instagram for my training performance program I'm starting here soon, and I just posted just a teaching tape. And Richie Incognito pulled on the play. We were playing against Miami. It was my 41-yard touchdown in week 3 of my rookie year, and I was just breaking down the play. And EJ handed the ball off, and Eric Wood and Jerome Felder were in on the play, and I just tagged them all in it. And Richie Incognito just said, "Hey, you're welcome, buddy." And it's just really cool just to have that experience, just not to see him and play with him for so long, to still have that building that kind of relationship that, I can build a teaching tape that he's going to comment on, and people are going to see it, and they know that's just a level of respect that when I was on the field, I knew what I was doing, I knew what I was talking about. And, hopefully that leads to more people seeing it, more people wanting to come work with me, and, and life after football has started. So I'm just happy that my football career is been exciting. I'm happy with it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned being with EJ, and obviously you go to a place like Florida State, who, one of the best programs in the history of college football. There's a lot of guys that make it to the NFL from that program. How was that? Playing with guys that either maybe you didn't play with in school, but you knew that came from Florida State. How was that?
Off the top, I played with my brother. Me and my brother played in high school together, and then we played at Florida State together. And in 2016, we got to play with the Steelers together. So off the top, playing with my brother, who, just re-signed with the Steelers is amazing. Yep. Having that energy on the field, having that, we grew up in the same household. Like, if anything goes wrong, if you have somebody, you always need somebody to talk to who's right there. But I got to play with some animals, man. Timmy Jernigan, Nigel Bradham, Jalen Ramsey. The list goes on. Dalvin Cook, freshman year. Rashad Green, Florida State record holder. Nick O'Leary, Kelvin Benjamin. I can go. Cam Irvin, who was a first-round pick, who played right tackle, left tackle, and played center. The list goes on. It was crazy. When I first came into Florida State, we had a number of recruiting class in the country, and I think we was the highest rated class ever recruited at the time. Kelvin Benjamin, Rashad Green, Nick O'Leary, Bobby Hart, Trey Jackson, Josue Matias, Austin Barron was up front. Who else we had in that class? Devontae Freeman, James Wilder, myself, Marcus Brutus, Keelan Smith, Giorgio Newberry. now Lawrence Stample. We had Timmy Jernigan. Nick Wason was number 2 corner in the country. Tyler Hunter was I think like the top 10 safety in the country that year. I mean, we had so many guys that were the best in their class. But the year before that, in 2010, you had Telvin Smith, you had Christian Jones, who's not. Those 2 guys were drafted. Terrence Brooks, who were drafted, who's what, been in the league 7 years now strong, 8 years now strong in the league. I mean, there's so much talent, and then having to compete and play on the field. Now you got to get on the football field. Now you got to go to practice and weights and lift and train and compete with these guys to get yourself on the field. So my college experience, it was wild. It was wicked. I went from playing. I mean, we were ranked every year I was in school.
Yep.
I don't think there was a year that I didn't finish as a ranked team, and that's a blessing. I won 3 ACC championships. I've been to 2 Rose Bowls. I won an Orange Bowl. Been to a Champs Bowl. Won that. Beat Notre Dame twice in my career. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and a national championship to beat it all too.
Yeah. I mean, I beat Notre Dame twice in my career. My freshman year in the Champs Bowl, I beat them again in my senior year. Beautiful. I mean, Clemson, always a tough opponent. To win in overtime against them in front of 90,000 inside the Doak at night, no better feeling than that. Awesome.
So, you mentioned a few guys, and Wilder is one of those guys that also went into the CFL. You decided to sign there. I think I saw it was a futures in 2019, and you were set to play last year, but that didn't happen because of the pandemic. And then you decided, like we said a minute ago, to retire. What led to that decision?
What led to the retirement decision is that throughout the pandemic, we knew there were going to be delays. Natural delays, what I'm saying is that you're going to have to quarantine delays. No matter where you go, where you come from, you're going into another country, you're going to have to quarantine. And their normal quarantine from coming in and entering the country is 28 days. So we just got to notice that, in April, that it's going to be 28 days that some of their major cities are going to be shut down. There are more than 28 days left in the month of April at that time. So, you get what I'm saying? So the time frame of us reporting in mid-May like we were supposed to wasn't likely. And, you can apply for as many jobs as you can, and people want to hire you as they want to, but then they ask you, so do you plan on leaving to actually go play football? And you say yes. Well, sir, we can't we can't hire you right now. That's not going to happen. Or you can't start coaching right now because you're just going to leave in the middle of the season. You can't build an offense and start fall camp when you're not going to be here in fall camp. So I decided to retire and start my own entity and really start giving back to the community like I really want to. I've always loved training. I've always loved working out guys, and I've done it for my friends when I wasn't playing or when I was trying to stay in shape and they were getting ready to go play for some teams, some semi-pro teams. A good friend of mine, Prince Shinola, who's down in Orlando, Florida, he's going to play in Jacksonville for the Sharks.
The NAL,
I've been training with him for a while. He's actually on my teaching tape on my page. I trained him. Since the day we've met, we've been working out together, and we've been preparing. He's actually got a chance. He had a chance to play in the AAF out for the Hot Shots in Arizona, and then he got picked up here in Orlando. He's one of the guys I've always worked out. I actually got a friend of mine, Kendall Robinson. He's a tight end at Georgia Military. He was a player of mine when I coached back at my high school. He asked me when I first got there, hey, Coach, they give me a scholarship. I said, we'll work out, we'll grind it out this summer. What we'll do is we'll take your film and I'll send it out to some schools and we'll see what happens. And the first school that wrote me back was Georgia Military. The tight end coach told me, he said, hey, Coach Williams, if the kid is every bit as 235, we'll offer him a scholarship. His mom got him up on a visit, and kid you not, the funniest thing about it was Roy Upchurch was their running back coach at the time, and he was my running back GA when we went and won the national championship in 2013. So Kendall FaceTimes me, and I'm like, oh snap, what's up? He's like, hey, and I open the phone, and boom, it's Upchurch. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? He's like, hey man, we just offered your boy. I'm like, no, my face froze. He's like, are you froze? I'm like, it's just crazy. It was wicked. I mean, it was a true blessing. And then from that point on, that's what really hit me. Like, I really can help kids change their lives.
Yep.
I mean, at that point, me and him, we were close, man. I mean, we were super close, still close today. It's crazy. He didn't think he was ever going to go to college. He was thinking about getting a job and just starting working and going to community college and starting in that way. I'm like, you really want to play football? He said, yeah, I want to play football. So we just made it happen. And, I mean, all the credit goes to him because he put the hard work in. All I did was email a couple coaches, but I watched him develop. I watched him go from having no offers going into his senior year to getting a full scholarship. And, yeah, he's thinking about transferring. This summer he's going to come home. We're going to get together this summer. We're going to work. I'm going to bust his ass. And we're going to get ready to go get some D1 offers or some D2 offers. We're going to level up, and that's what we're talking about.
That's right.
And there is just a part of why I chose to retire, too. Just having the ability to give back to others, and it's part of building relationships as well. Yep. And, you know, Kendall's a guy that I always train. I always work out. I always have time to put work in with him because he had time to put work in, invest in me. He asked me to, hey, can you help me become a better player, be a better tight end, be a better H-back? Can you help me be a better person, be a better man, young man? And I was like, wow, you really instilled a lot of trust in me. So I took it to heart. And, you know, we still have a great relationship. We still connect, and we're going to do it this summer. And like I said, that was a big part of it, you know, having those relationships like that. Yeah. That's lifelong lasting, you know.
Yeah, you hit it right there. You know, you never know, people who you meet, along your path, how they're going to affect your future. You know, you were talking about, Upchurch was a GA when you were there, and then bam, he's able to help a guy that you're working with. You know, it's amazing. You never know who you're going to meet and who's going to be able to help you out, later on. So we talked about it a little bit before we started talking here, and you mentioned it a couple of times. Tell me more about this plan for after football, this training camp that you're starting here. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, right now we're starting small. I'm providing my own capital to buy what I would consider is essential speed equipment that I would use for my particular technical speed equipment. It's been rough. It's rough. It's always going to be rough, but it's something I want to build on my own. It's something I have a passion for. I have a couple clients that's ready to work. I got a guy coming in on Friday from Gainesville. He's ready to get a workout session in. We're going to get some speed work in. He's a quarterback. I got some drills for him. I got some ladders for him. I got some way to open his hips up, get his foot fire going, get that arm released quick. I mean, we have some ways to get better, and that's what it's all about. I want to help some people in the community while I'm still here in Tallahassee get better, and that's what it's all about. Just pick my brain. You want to know about football? My brain's full of it. You want to know about life? I've experienced a lot of it, and that's what I bring to the table. And that's what life is after football. Eventually, I want to have a training facility. Have a schedule where I have sets of groups come in and work out, sets of groups of sports-specific people come in and work out. Be able to do it, and also have a session where kids come in after school where they just come in and train or have a day of just work out for kids for free, like a Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. Eventually, that's something that's something to give back to the community. Having multiple of those, possibly. So who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit. Only I can see the vision. I mean, it's not meant for everybody to be able to see. Everybody doesn't have my 20/20 vision like I do. So I don't expect everybody to see it. Everybody doesn't have to believe in it. And it's not achievable for everybody. But I can definitely see it. I definitely believe it. And I definitely know I can achieve it. So I'm going to shoot for the stars, man. And hopefully I get up there.
Yeah, man. It sounds exciting. And that's something that a lot of guys unfortunately don't really plan for and don't really have, to kind of fall back on after football. And, that's something that is really important. to find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you would be good at, and being able to take everything, not just what you've learned on the field, but things that you have learned off the field, and be able to communicate that with the youngster, and others, to help them, not just be better football players, but to be better people, to be better men, that's amazing that you're doing that, and you're taking what you've learned and taking the adversity that you've gotten both on the field and off the field in your life, and you're turning it into a positive way, and affecting people's lives in a great way. So, like I said before, I really appreciate you talking to me. This sounds really exciting. I will definitely be following and talking about what you've got and helping you promote it in any way that I can. That's pretty awesome, because like I said, a lot of guys don't have that. It's you have a lot of players, once football is over, they don't know what to do, and that can lead to mental health issues. But making sure that you do plan for that, that helps a lot. So
it's crazy, man. It's really, really crazy, man. You'll be surprised how wicked it is, just starting from the ground up. You always hear about people starting their own business, like you watch Shark Tank and you think, I see people. No, man, it's not. No, it's not. No, it is not.
Yeah.
It is not. But I thank God every day that I'm a likable person. I've been a liked person in my life throughout my career. I've been a fan favorite. I will say thank you to my Seminole fans. I love you, Noah fans. Thank you to my Buffalo fans, the small amount of Pittsburgh fans, if I have any, Toronto fans, if I have any. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been supportive. You guys have been rock stars throughout my career. It's been amazing. But like I said, building it from the ground up, it isn't easy. My wife just told me the other day, she's like, you realize you've been on your phone all day, working all day, literally all day. I said, I'm so sorry. She said, I understand that, but I'd rather watch you train than watch you sit there and type on your phone. I said, okay, I can switch that up. I can make it happen. So we're getting it rolling, man. It's really cool getting people wanting to get that one-on-one session, that one-on-one time with you. It is pretty interesting. It's pretty cool, and man, I'm a busted ass. I just know that.
Awesome, man. That's really good to hear. And like I said, I appreciate you talking with me. I'm really excited to see how this goes, because guys need it, and there's always guys, especially right now, that need, that help to boost, what they already have. I always say that situations determine success more than talent does. And right now, there's not a whole lot of opportunities for guys because of what's happened over the past couple of years with the pandemic. You would usually have pro days where, guys from JUCO or D3 schools, D2 schools, would be able to participate in a bigger pro day, and that's not been happening over the past couple of years. So you've got this group of guys that don't have the opportunity to get out there and show what they have. But when you have guys like you that are willing to go out there and help these guys get better offers, and whether that's in college or after trying to go after their pro career, having guys that have been there and can help them better their situations to where they can make a difference in their lives and their families' lives, and continue the dream of playing professional football. That's amazing. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, and I wish you nothing but the best. Is there anything else that you want to promote, that you want to push out there, that you want to say to everybody?
If everybody has time, please follow me on my social media outlets. My Instagram is Karlos with a K _Williams 29. My Twitter is Karlos with a K _SR. I only mainly use those two. Y'all catch me on those. Also, my new Instagram, Karlos Williams Performance. please, young running backs, young athletes, please go on there and check it out. I will be posting my sessions when they get recorded. I will have more footage up. I will have more teaching tape. Also, young backs, if you guys tune in and read or listen to this, if you guys send me your film, I will critique, break it down for you, and send it back to you. I will start doing that within the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. So the more film I get, the more often I can do it. Just letting y'all guys know. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Here's what you missed last week on the Markcast.
Hello, Paul, my old friend. It's good to podcast with you again. The title of our episode, Sounds of Silence. I felt like that was an apt for both XFL stuff and CFL stuff. I thought there's been a lot of silence and things have been running amok because of that. So I thought you like my title.
I do like your title a lot. So let's stop the silence, guys. Let's open up the transparency. We got Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press coming up later on in the show to talk about transparency. Also, Reed.
Yeah, Jeff was great. We really appreciate him taking time. He's covering the Winnipeg Jets as they're going through their, trying to run to the playoffs. I did, thank you so much, Spring League, for coordinating. I did an interview with Stan Bedwell earlier this week, star with the linemen. He is one of the quarterbacks for them, and then he also is one of the coaches. He has a long history with Hal Mummy, who is the coach of the linemen. And, I was watching the broadcast. A lot of people were watching the broadcast on Saturday on Fox. Heard Kevin and Brock tell his story about traveling to Europe and all of that. And I thought, we got to get this guy on, tell his story. And my biggest takeaway from that is that Stan spent, 8 years, 10 years traveling Europe to grow his game. And the value that the Spring League has, paid or not, is something that would maybe help some of these players. And Stan agrees. I mean, we get into all this, but the fact that you maybe wouldn't have to go on that arduous journey to get tape.
Transparency, right? I mean, that's been a topic that you guys have been hammering on for a while. It's something that I certainly think needs to be improved by this league. And the reality is like we're in year 2, right? So like this whole process from last year was kind of this wait and see, right? So the leash, I think, for fans is getting shorter and shorter.
For guys to have that platform to go out and play at a high level on games that are on, television, it's easy to see. I think it's incredible.
The Markcast is available wherever you download podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google. It's all over the place. It's also on XFL News Hub and YouTube.
All right, we are back. And again, thanks, Karlos Williams, for sitting with Josh Davis there outside somewhere. Interesting story with him. I mean, especially between the Markcast interview this week and then even Karlos Williams, just some really this is the thing that Danny Garcia and The Rock, these are the stories that I believe that they want to tell. A guy like Karlos Williams, success really early, then he messed up, but he's turned his life around and taken his experiences to help others. He's got a fantastic mindset. He will be successful just with a great mindset. That's really all it takes at the end of the day, is if you have the right mindset. Carol Dweck, read that book called Mindset, and that's my favorite book of all time. And that will tell you, and that's, if you got the right mindset, you can accomplish anything. And I'm really excited to see the success that he has. And who knows what kind of, when you have situations like that in your life, I mean, you can either let that thing take you and bring you down, or you can be an inspiration to others. And I think Karlos Williams definitely sounds a guy like that. So we appreciate him talking with Josh Davis and him setting up that interview. So that was that part of the show. And now we got to get into, you guys know what it is. It's the social media aspect of the show. Let's get into some of that right now, shall we? First up, we got talking about Mike Mitchell's article that you have to read. We'll get full recap of him and then some when we get a chance to catch up with him in the next week or so. Michael says, last year XFL was pleasantly surprising product. A merger with the CFL is only good if 4 downs is played. If the CFL is unwilling to go with that, let it continue to die the slow death it's in now. Yikes. Michael, with that post, got 21 replies. I will not go through them all. I would assume people aren't happy. Tom says the CFL wants to partner with the XFL because the XFL hurt the CFL. The XFL needs to cancel any partnership with the CFL and start the season in 2022. Leave the CFL on its own. The fans of the XFL don't want to wait until 2023. By then, fans would have already left the XFL. The longer the XFL waits, the more the fan base they will lose. Now, that's an interesting take on that. That has some validity to it because, I mean, this is a long time to have XFL fans wait. You really need to, but the thing is that, come February, it's on, and I think those people would be drawn back in. I mean, this is such a weird influx year anyways. It would be nice for the XFL to somehow hint out there, maybe you guys should pay attention to the CFL this summer and leave it at that. Or if the XFL Twitter promoted the CFL, that would just get all sorts of buzz going. And get the XFL fans who like that alternative football to watch some CFL games this summer. Let's see, Zach checking in. What does he say here? He says, yes, it's somewhat upsetting about 2022. Isn't likely anymore, but you have to look at why. It's not like the new ownership group doesn't have something awesome up their sleeves to grow the game of football even bigger than a lot of people could have ever imagined, whatever happens with these negotiations. I am 100% sure there are very smart people behind these negotiations. Oh yeah, I'd agree with that. Change is coming and it is out of our control, like it or not, but we must accept it because it's reality. Guys, it's not about the individual leagues. It's all about the players and the success of being able to have a sport year round. Don't all of us here love the game of football? It's all about the players for the love of football. Thank you, XFL and CFL, for giving everyone an opportunity to play the game during the time that isn't NFL or college related. The people that can't quite make the cut deserve a chance to try out in this alternative football. Is all about no one needs. But thank you for your time. How can we complain if we don't even know what's coming? Good point there. Tom. XFL is pretending that it has something to do with the CFL. Some days you'll notice that the XFL doesn't exist anymore. John says, how about CFL fans update? We are not interested. And David says, making a mistake waiting until 2023. I mean, I'm on board. I mean, that definitely is a problem. There's no question about that. That's a problem waiting that long. It's something that Dana White said of the UFC. It's like these guys got to come out of the gates. They can't wait, and they had all that momentum. But people are understandable because of what. This kind of gives them cover potentially. So we'll see how it goes. I've said this before. As a Baltimore Ravens fan, in Ozzie we trust. Ozzie makes the picks. Hey, he's the man. Delivered 2 Super Bowls. So if this is what he thinks, and Danny we trust. What can I tell you? Let's go on to about CFL versus NFL rules. Brett says the CFL sucks, especially compared to the XFL. That's the main difference. Okay, very nice, pleasant response there. About Bo Levi Mitchell and this whole merger, absolutely phenomenal thing. Richard says he's the perfect XFL/CFL player spokesman. Good American player is directed to play in Canada, performs under excellent management and coaching to be a top 3 CFL quarterback and wins. Talks like a whole good old boy and fans young and old like him. Totally, I'm a fan now. His positive acknowledgement of working relationships is exactly what the discussion needs. There will be other players that will disagree, as there always dissension, but it's supposed to work. Bo is an excellent promoter of the league and will be a perfect spokesman to our new American fans. Absolutely. Ron says, yes, I agree. I bet there's others who think the same. Yeah, I was thinking it would be interesting, and it shouldn't happen. But he is somebody that you can, I mean, clearly the CFL has built their league around him. He was talking about how he was having discussions with higher ups in the CFL about how to improve things. But he's a guy that, you kidding me? The Rock and Danny Garcia, this guy could be a superstar with their help. So yeah, but it would be messed up, CFL fan, if y'all booed him when they take the field again. I could see a little bit of that happening, but again, those people that boo, they'll be gone anyways. So you do not boo Bo. That should not happen. But it was one thing I was like, he might get booed when they come back, but he shouldn't, because he's a great player in the league and a great ambassador. Danny Garcia, great article from her. I'm talking about her discipline, very disciplined person, divorce from The Rock, and kind of how that kind of made her to who she was today, and that whole story was from Glamour magazine. It made me, if anything, start waking up early, because I was like, hey man, Danny Garcia puts in the work. She basically gets up at 6:30, does her thing, 30-minute Zoom calls. That's it. I am all about the 30. Like, people blab on for too long. Just what do we got to get done? Let's do it. Okay, case closed. Move on to the next thing. In bed by 9:30, she said, or something like that. So this is the hardworking person, and definitely, I mean, her and The Rock, two people that us entrepreneurs absolutely have to look up to. David says, one way The Rock can get some of his money back from her. I thought that was funny. But still, that was cute. I'll give you that. And I'll just leave that there. On to some CFL news, some CFL social media stuff from our CFL News Hub account. A little bit different thing. Saskatchewan Premier wants the CFL fans in the stands this summer. Irvin says half full at least, please. I'm telling you, just be patient. I think that there's good things coming with this COVID stuff. On CFL plans to start the season in the West, Ontario is not ready. There's no comments there. CFL could get a revenue boost. Talking about this single game betting. Phil says CFL teams are going to need this kind of cash flow if Tro Dope and the Six Clowns don't let fans in the stadiums. Okay. On Bo's podcast that we talked about, Matt says XFL might as well stay there after the merger. CFL would bust again in the U.S. for a third time. Okay. About Lisa McLeod. Warren says, who goes to Argos games anyway? Yikes. Warren, that's not very nice. Single game betting. Chris says, this will help the league financially. I've also been in favor of the league running a fantasy league to increase interest. Well, have no fear, Chris, my friend. We've got you covered. Been working hard on the fantasy app, the wrestling side of things. So in the wrestling world, basically there's 4 seasons, and every time there's a pay-per-view, a new season starts. So I've been working in the last week trying to get this league to, this is how a league shuts down, and this is how, a league is a parent of another league, and how do you set up a new league if you want to recreate the old one. Some people want to get out of the league. So did all that stuff, tested it out, having issues with the draft again. And it's funny because it works perfectly on my local machine, but then when I put it on the server, it's like doing things that I'm like, why are you doing that? Which makes it difficult because you have to compile the code, deploy it to Azure, build it, deploy it to the web instance, and then test it. And that process takes a while just to do that. You make a little change because you can't do it locally. So that's been a little challenging because the problem is that the AEW pay-per-view is on Sunday. So I need to get this draft things working so fans can redraft and we can keep going with this. And I just did a draft and I thought I had it nailed. I don't know what the heck happened. And I clicked a button and nothing worked. And I was like, ugh. Like, you've got to be kidding me. So hopefully I can fix that and see what happens. But I'm trying. But the point is that we will have fantasy football at some point. I mean, I want the season to start in August. Would it be ready by August? It's close. I mean, I'm going on vacation here in a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen. So, but I appreciate everybody chiming in there. What else do we got on the socials? BC Lions signing Nathan Rourke. Chris says if he becomes a starter, he should be considered a Canadian. Okay. The CFL XFL rules. Cody says bigger balls and longer fields. Chris says no mention of the Rouge. I don't think so. Greg, I knew people were going to hate on this because I forgot something. I'm still amazed at the ignorance of football fans about the Canadian game. Blah, 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 blah. Joe says the size of the end zone and the one has 3 downs, the other one has 4 downs. I guess he's telling us because I know we have the 3 and 4 downs in there. And the end zones, I believe, field size also is covered in that article. On to the YouTube stuff. Well, first we should probably, let's do this with the YouTube stuff. But how's my chat doing? How's my chatters out there? Frank checking in. Frank, hello. Checking in along with Paladin Demo, Jacob, and some others. Appreciate everybody on the chats. Let's get to the comments here. There we are. All right, let's see what we got here. On to the comments. Frozen Delta Records. He says he likes the Eskimos. He says, not sure if you guys know that since Commish Ambrosi is in charge last 4 years, each offseason he has done what the league calls Randy's Road Trip, where he visits each city and fans, mostly season ticket holders, to get an invite and spend an evening with Q&A with the commish. Very cool. That's the kind of stuff Oliver Luck was doing. At the first Red Blacks Randy's Road Trip, we were told about the global initiative way back, which I think is a great idea. People were like, it doesn't work. Look how, are you kidding me? Complaining about it. Give it time. Oh, this is such a waste. This is what they sound like. Something we used to do back in the day. That's what they are. Complaining about it. You think it's going to take a year and all of a sudden you're going to get top, 5-star talent coming from these countries? It takes time. But it's a good idea. And that's why that good idea is one of the reasons why the XFL and CFL is talking. So save your for something else. All right. Let's see. So that's cool. We were told about the global blah, blah. I hear lots of noise on social media about the CFL and its teams, but I can bet you most of the negativity are from those who are not season ticket holders and from those who've never supported their local team or the league. I think that. I also think, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I sometimes wonder if they're Russian trolls because you saw, it was like there is media manipulation going on and who knows, and dissension and trying to cause dissension. It wouldn't surprise me. Who knows? He also says, to play devil's advocate, so many CFL media rant about the league because they know how great the product and the game is. And I think they wish the league could do a better job of selling itself. Well, that's true. I'll give you that there. Probably. Theodore says they also do it to get reaction for ratings. That is also true. He says Alberta has the world's 3rd largest oil and gas reserves. Yo, I am solar panels here, baby. So we have solar panels, and I just called to see if I can get a power wall. I don't use gas. I'm not a gas guy at all. All my mower, all that stuff is Cobalt. So if Cobalt wants to sponsor, because my thing is like, why am I buying gas? I can get it from the sun from my house. I just got money back. I just got a little credit card with money back because of my solar panels, which I like. So, and then if Tesla accepts Dogecoin, I will be getting a Tesla with my Dogecoin. I'm just throwing that out there. My wife already knows. It's already been discussed. But that's cool about the oil reserves, I guess. He says the Beachcombers were out on the west coast of the Pacific. Halifax is the Atlantic Schooners, named after the famous Blue Noose schooner. I like that name. It'd be great. It would be really exciting for both leagues if whatever they decide to do, that they have also expansion in 2023. That would really kind of drum up a lot of interest. Theodore said, just a fun thing, it would be great to see if someone could build a World League online and have a virtual tournament. I see people with their YouTube video games and it's all completely random. It would be nice to see weekly results, organized standings, and a playoff bracket. That's true. That would be kind of cool. Jack, nice video. Thank you. Rich, Cats fans here. Fun team to watch. Yes. I'm a Cats fan too, my friends. You know, one thing that I thought about too, depending on how this thing rolls out and why I think our product, especially in the fantasy football side of things, could really get nuts. Could you imagine, let's say, and this is why things are kind of separated at this juncture, if you had, you know, you could play CFL fantasy and XFL fantasy. It depends on how this works out, whether they're merged together or not. But how cool would it be, like, if you were to decide, like, you know what, I just want to play CFL fantasy and I play CFL fantasy, or you play XFL fantasy and you just want to play that, or if they do have like even like a scrimmage or who knows, however it's pulling out, what if you could play a merged? Like, that would be kind of cool. So there's definitely options. And then there's like European Football League. Listen, and Europe, ELF and the Mexico League, you want to get American fans involved, all I need from you is data. I just need an API to connect to, and that's all I need, and I'm good to go. And we could do all, I mean, and this is the beauty of not doing something with us, XFL News Hub, CFL News Hub, and any of these other places, is because the fans are like, you know, it would be cool if we had a dynasty league where you could, your dynasty league, you could pick, you know, one CFL player and one XFL player, and then one college player, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we could just make it however you want, and I think it would be awesome. Paladin says, sorry I missed the inaugural live episode. We got behind work last week. Once we're behind for weeks. No worries, he's in here now. Outdoors on the air. Hi, Mark. I'm a lifelong CFL fan and really appreciate your videos and efforts. Thank you very much. It's great to see the attention you and other XFL media types are giving to my favorite league. We love it. It's fun. In reference to your rant on people covering the CFL who bash it, how would you like to be a fan of a league where you don't even mention what sport you follow? Wait. How would you like to be a fan of a league where you don't even mention what sport you follow because of the near universal derision you get back in return? That's pretty much the life of a CFL fan in Southern Ontario. I live in a city next to Hamilton and work in it. I mean, I was a wrestling fan and I don't care. Like, I am like, I don't care. Like, I've walked into fancy places with my AEW hat or my XFL hat on backwards. Why? Because they got to all know who I am. And I am the XFL News Hub guy and the Dogecoin guy. That's who I am. But I think, and this is the importance, and you bring up a great point, outdoors on the air. I assume that's not your name, and your name is not air, and your parents didn't name you outdoors. I assume that's the case. But this is why it's important with Rock and Danny Garcia to bring that little edge that could really change things or turn things around. I am telling you, man. I'm telling you. Isaiah says you should do a video on the YouTube, the end zone here, YouTube, since there are MLFB news. Major League MLFB, I saw something about that. They always talk like they're going to do something, and they never do. And I don't think they're going to do anything this summer because it's almost June. And they talk about doing stuff all the time. Quickly on the other social stuff, Coach 31B said, did anybody notice Kevin Gilbride rocking a New York Guardians jacket at the TSL game last night? Anybody notice that? I didn't notice that. Savage Sports MMZ got this funny picture. Sometimes I wonder if the XFL misses me as much as I miss it. The picture of Kermit the Frog. Pretty bad. And the XFL logo. That made me laugh out loud. That was a good one. John B. with a bunch of, what's his name? John Burr, 26 with a bunch of numbers. About CFL could get revenue boost from single game betting. Could. Question marks from, what's this guy? Mike Myers, Dr. Doom character guy. And that was my point too. Could get some stuff from that. On to our social media stuff. Get to our emails here real quick. Bernard says, try out in the Spring League. What Spring League to try out for? Well, the Spring League is the Spring League you can try out for. Hub is another one. I definitely think we're going to work on an article because we get these questions all the time, from Division 3, Division 2 players, like how do we get involved? The Hub League, which has done really well, and the Spring League are two places to try. Fan Control Football is another one. Just get your name out there. That's how this whole thing works. John says, hi. Hello, sir. Hope all is well. I was wondering if you have seen any of the TSL post-updated stats and depth charts. Thank you. Great work with your coverage. JM, checking in. We were trying, I'm trying to get this wrestling thing going, and I wanted to get TSL stats. They do stats. They come out with a spreadsheet. I have the system that I can put in. I just don't have the time to import the data because I need to tag it to the players and use the API. I just haven't had time to figure that piece out. But I wish we could have it. But yeah, you don't go on their site. But they do, if you're on Twitter, maybe on Facebook too, they give a little spreadsheet of the stuff. So at least it's something. George Harkis checking in. Says, hi, Mark. I'm a longtime CFL fan, and in particular, an Edmonton football team fan for over 50 years. I've been watching your podcast along with XFL, Markcast now, for a couple months, and I've been very impressed with the attitude you, Paul, and Reed have covering the CFL. I appreciate that. You guys have a very open-minded attitude, an attitude I wish some CFL fans and media would have. You bring a fresh, unique perspective on the CFL and the continuing talks between the CFL and XFL. Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you. I might be in the minority, but I would like to see a full-blown merger. I believe in the long term, the CFL/XFL working as one entity would be much stronger than perhaps a so-called collaboration. I think in terms of executing a marketing strategy and expanding it globally, it would be easier to do as a unified league under one set of rules and operation conditions. That's the thing too, and I agree with you there. There needs to be a rule book that each league uses, but they don't necessarily have to be merged together. He says, I think the two leagues need to create an exciting game different from the NFL, and I think they will. Moving forward with a strong marketing strategy and TV deal in North America and maybe eventually tapping into the global networks. I think that's the plan. Regardless of what might happen in the future of the two leagues, I will continue to watch your podcast and enjoy getting an American perspective. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you, George, checking in. And that's the thing, and that's the angle. Like, I'm not coming in here and being like some CFL expert. And if you're looking for a CFL expert, it's not me. Now, give me a year. I didn't know anything about these players in the XFL. I didn't know anything about these coaches, and I got it. Like, it just takes me a little while. And even with our writers and stuff, and I've said this about CFL News Hub, like, we're not going to go super deep. We'll cover the American players and kind of the business aspect because we're not there yet, because we need to see the games in action to really get the writers to really get connected with the product and really get all in. Because when the writers are all in, then they just churn stuff out all the time, and it's good stuff. A Paladin demo. Where's his stuff? What do we got here? All right, there it is. This is an Orlando Rage project he's working on. That's pretty cool. Paladin demo checking in there. And let's see what else we got here on the... I thought this was different. This was an interesting one. This was a response to Dan Ralph, if no CFL season, then the CFL as we see it doesn't exist. This was a comment by Jordan. Maybe it was Michael Jordan. He says they should do it like baseball, different field sizes in U.S. than Canada. If the American teams can't accommodate CFL, some can keep it Canadian rules, which I think would be interesting. It'd be kind of cool to have different rules up there versus down here. The second you need to get rid of 3 downs, the league is dead in the water. The second you get rid of 3 downs in the league is dead in the water. Again, I honestly don't care when it comes to that stuff. I just wonder what TV networks are willing to pay for, and that's the part where I'm fine either way. Keep the same line of scrimmage at 1 yard. Goalposts can change depending on venue. I'm okay with a small change in playing in the U.S. I really don't think the changes have to be drastic, and I agree with you there. Canada plays on Canadian field. U.S. plays on U.S. size field. If they can't fit Canadian size, same rules though for both fields. I wonder. I mean, because The Rock has said multiple times, if you've heard him, how much he respects the Canadian game. And again, I've been like, so we have CFL News Hub, Destiny News Hub, Dogecoin News Hub, and others too on our little network here that we're growing. And I do Dogecoin, and I've been following Elon Musk all the time. And like everybody drops hints all the time, and it's like, I wonder though if when The Rock talks about, because The Rock can't really come out if respecting the game. I think forget about like the player rule stuff, but the 3 down one would be interesting. If can The Rock come out and say he respects the game if they eliminate the 3 down rule? But the problem is that it goes beyond that part, and it's college football. It's these players where they play, in other, they play in high school and then they play in college. But really, I mean, it's they need to sit down with the people, and that's why I don't think they're at the rules part yet, because they need to sit down with, Jim Mullins' group, really, before they come out with any kind of thing as far as what the rules changes were. And that's why I don't think you'll hear anything about rules. Honestly, there's no point of mentioning rules until 2023 if you really think about it. You're just trying to get through this season. Next season, you could even tease, whatever about the rules, and you're going to want to play another season when you don't have the backing of the XFL just yet, and so they don't even need to talk about the rules. And I wonder if they're even really getting that far when it comes to the rules. Let's see, 2 more here. Ken says, like the pod last night, recalls my days of doing it all broadcast TV guy in the day. Great multitasking. Thank you very much. I grew up actually making, so a funny little story about me. I grew up making radio shows in my basement. I was a big Imus and Howard Stern fan growing up in New York. And I mean, I would do this kind of stuff when I was young. So this is very comfortable for me and fun, actually. And I like doing the live show better, to be honest with you. I like interacting with our fans. You guys out there? Let's see. Paladin says we'll get to these guys in a second. If you guys have any questions in the chat, we'll hit them up. I got these emails left. But I appreciate that. He says, always pass on my contact to your sponsor. I use a company to select. Okay. Cool. Ken checking in from Military Warriors SF. Very cool. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ken. Left me some other messages. I'll have to reach out to him. And finally, Dan says, I watched the podcast live. It was very cool to hear your response to my email. Thanks a lot. To be clear, I was not suggesting different rules for the different leagues. I would suggest identical rules for all teams in the X/CFL. Same field, width, number of men, kickoff, etc. The one exception I would make to that would be 3 downs on Canadian soil and 4 downs on American. That would be interesting. I agree with you that coaches would go crazy if they had to adapt to different rules each week. It doesn't seem like changing the number of downs week to week, though, would be such an impossible on coaches. Canadian coaches would have 2 opportunities to run their usual first down plays, while American coaches would just begin their possession with the second and third long plays. Playbook wouldn't really need to change week by week. Thanks again, paying attention to fans' emails. Best of luck, Dan. Checking in there. That would be kind of interesting, too. That would get a lot of interest. That part, hey, as a fan, I would be all for that. Then I worry about the coaches and then the referees. Like, there's the logistics aspect of all this stuff that is what worries me a little bit when it comes to some of this other stuff. Let's see. Last but not least, our friends in the chat room. Paladin checking in. He says, you can do dynasty leagues in the video games depending on sport, or you can spoof with Blood Bowl. I picked Orlando Rage this round because of one of my former players was from Evan Grill here in Springfield. Springfield? Is that the Simpsons? Does Paladin let Demo live in Springfield with the Simpsons? I always have these shows that I have to watch. Family Guy, American Dad, Bob's Burger. I've watched them a million times. I'm like, I need a new show. It's kind of like my show, like to unwind and kind of fall asleep to. Or I don't need to pay attention, but I need to pay attention. And I'm like, I need something else. I've like watched these 100 times. The Simpsons on Disney Plus. There's like 50, like a 2,000 seasons. There's been 100. It's 100-year seasons of The Simpsons. They've been 100 years, 100-year brand. The Simpsons. No, it's something like 17 or something. But I've been going through those, man, and this stuff is still funny, man. It's good stuff. I liked it as a kid. Then after a while, you just kind of moved on with your life with The Simpsons. Saw and Son. New York Guardians fan for life. All right. He is a Guardians fan for life. I love the Guardians logo, man. I think it's very cool. And probably the Simpsons hinted at Springfield, Missouri quite a lot. So maybe it is there. All right, my friends. Well, this was a fun episode. I'm glad some of this stuff worked. And I think we didn't get as many people as we did because I don't think it alerted everybody. Because I accidentally started it, and that's when the alert goes out or something like that. So we're figuring this stuff out. We got new graphics on the way. I'm excited about that, and other stuff down the road. So I'm hoping we'll get Mike Mitchell on the next week or two. He definitely said he's in to talk about his article. If you didn't see it, go check it out. Also follow us on all the social media stuff. Remember how to get in touch with the show. You know the drill. It's let me find the link here. Where is it? Oh, you know it. Podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos. Call 888-430-7692 extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. And as always, like and subscribe to our channel. Mash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Share us out everywhere on social media, especially with your CFL fans and your CFL friends, to give them a chance to. Our numbers have been great because of the Spring League and the CFL. And we're ramping content up on CFL News Hub. You can follow us on all the social media stuff, XFL News Hub. You can find us anywhere. So all the social media stuff on CFL News Hub. We'll definitely be getting more thorough into the CFL season as it gets closer. Really, it's just a lot of news and speculation at this point and some health things going on. Again, I'm not really too worried about it until we hit June. But a lot of TSL stuff going on. Traffic has been great for that. And so we'll just keep doing this live show for a while. Remember, show notes, podcast, or xflnewshub.com/XFL podcast. Join us on the Discord. And that's it for me, folks. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys in the chat. Paladin Demo for checking in. Jacob checking in. DJ Moss checking in. Frank checking in. And Saw and Son. Just some of the names on there. We appreciate all you guys participating on the show. That's it for me, folks. Have a good week out there. Stay safe out there. Just get your jab. I got it. I'm good. I'm like superhuman. I'm not, brainwashed or any of that kind of stuff. We'll get it done. And then my friends in Canada get it done. And also check us our Dogecoin News Hub. I'm so creative. It's amazing. These names I come up with. And that's it for me, folks. Stay safe out there. God bless to all you out there. Thanks for Karlos Williams for checking in, talking to our Josh Davis. And I will see you all later.